My name is Graham. I'm a 59-year-old male. I believe I've had a cochlear implant now for around about 15 years. The second one followed 4 years after the first one. I think that I was probably born deaf. In those days it was just diagnosed as deep wax. I did not get my first hearing aid until about 19 years just after I'd left school, and I realised it was a battle, my place of employment. I struggled with that. I got through okay for about 7 or 8 years, and then at age 32 I had another crack at 2 more hearing aids. They didn't really work for me and I just stopped wearing them. At about the age of 41, 42, I had a very bad ear infection which resulted in a trip to the doctor and then a referral to Dr. Bruce Black. And then the cochlear followed after that. I had been a very successful career with Fastway Couriers, running my own business, which meant that I had to talk to people. One of the customers, which I got on extremely well with, he asked me to come and do his deliveries for his company. So I sold my Fastway franchise and I went to work for Richard as his delivery driver. After I had started working for him, I had the ear infection, and that's when I lost the hearing in my left ear. All the customers played along with it. They all helped me battle through the day. And then after I got the cochlear implant, 6 months after, and things started to just flow really smoothly for me, I thought I can do better than this. And I kept leaning on the warehouse manager at the time, and he left and I got his job. Never looked back from there on. The switch on day was somewhat emotional for me. My wife couldn't make it, but my uncle from the Gold Coast came up and he videoed it for me. Unfortunately, I lost the video. I definitely heard the moment that it was turned on, and I did have a wee cry, okay, because, you know, up until then, I'd only met one person. Karen had asked me to come in and ask the person that had had the implant if there was any questions, and he was obviously coping well with it. He answered all the questions. There was no looking back, but the switch on day I can remember wasn't so much the switch on, but it was the second day that I come in for the retune up, and I left here and I walked downtown, and that was the first noise that I heard that I didn't know what it was, and it was the bloody fountain of all things. I hadn't heard running water for so long, know what it was, and I turned around and sure enough there was the fountain. So what more can you say? So I could be sitting at home at night watching TV, 7:30, between 7 and 8, and I'd hear this clunk. And I used to say to my wife, "What is that noise?" And it was of no concern to her, but it was of a concern to me because I kept on hearing it and I didn't know what it was. And it took me a long time to figure out what this noise was. And one night I just happened to get home from work a lot later than I usually do, and I realised it was the next door neighbour throwing his empty stubby in his wheelie bin. That's what the noise was. And I go inside and I say to Jeanette, "Jeanette, I found out what that noise was." She goes, "Oh, what was it?" I said, "It's Slavko throwing his empty stubby in his wheelie bin." She goes, "Oh, is that it?" Inconsequential to her. Didn't matter. Because I did have some hearing, there are some noises, like smells, that you'll never forget. And for me, the implant worked so well that I could recognise the voice of a person that I couldn't see. Okay, and to me that was just, you know, I was talking to somebody on the phone who I knew who I was talking to, and then they asked me if I wanted to speak to somebody else whose voice I hadn't heard. I'd never heard that voice on a telephone, but when I did hear that voice, I knew who it was straight away. Just, yeah, that was just after I got it. After I had the first implant, that was the biggest change, being able to use a phone. That was a big change. But then again, if you've been living your life without a phone, it takes a while to just to be able to. And I went and had a splash on a really expensive phone after I got the first implant, and I've still got that phone, a nice little solid stainless steel Nokia it was. I've still got it, and it was about $1,200 in the day, which was a lot of money for a phone back then. Because I could use it. But now with the iPhone and the 2, it's magic. It really is. It's really great to walk out into the garage and hear the homebrew cooking. The bubbles, the bubbles, the bubbles, the bubbles. While the yeast is going. And there's some, like I would never have heard that without the implants, never. Never. And you know, I walk past it in the morning on my way to work and you can hear it ticking away. Just little things like that. You know, and I've got 2 poodles, okay, and I can tell you that they both snore too, and I would never have heard that. You just have to do it, because what you've got on the other side is probably not worth anything to you anyway, and then after you get the second one, it just, everything comes together and you can hear things in stereo, and believe me, stereo is stereo. I spend a lot of time just listening to the radio, which I've never done before, and heaps of music now. I used to be very musical when I was younger, and then I went through 15 or 20 years of not really knowing a hell of a lot, all these people, musicians that I don't know, because I wasn't listening to radio in those days, because I couldn't hear it. Now I can.